I do want to ask you this question too, and then we'll talk a little bit. I know you're really busy, so we won't keep you too much longer. And
That's
then we'll
okay.
talk a little bit about your body work and some of the things that you found, some themes and concepts. But how much do you, because I know you're coming from that strength and conditioning background, and we briefly touched on it, before, like sometimes that generic strength and conditioning program, that's not what that person needs. So my question is, coming from that exercise background and seeing how to move and strength train in a functional way, how much does that movement component play into what you do? Because you can correct someone, and if they go back to moving with all improper mechanics, doing things that are just breaking their body down instead of making it stronger, they're going to have to see you every day, right? So
Right.
talk a little bit about that. How does the movement technique, training methods, how does that reinforce what you're doing with body work?
That's a really interesting question. And I don't think anybody has asked it to me in that way. Okay. But really what it comes down to is that our fascia and the human body is just a gigantic movement machine. Like we get better through movement, and then we can also really, really destroy ourselves through movement.
Yes.
Okay. And I have several books out on Amazon, and I show people in my back pain Bible, which is kind of my thesis. It's my largest book and the most information in there. And I have a chart at the end of the book, and I teach people the difference between eustress, which is a good stress for the body, and then distress. And I show them, I say, do you play golf on Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? And then do you play tennis on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday? And I said, golf is eustress, but golf and tennis is distress. Why? Too much rotation. Okay. And I show people, like, 1 glass of wine per night, good. 1 bottle of wine per night, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Right. So what we don't really, and like you said earlier, not that we're trying to speak poorly on anything in the westernized medical system, they help people every day. But with this new research and with these new findings, like, there really needs to be a separate career path or a separate type of physician for what we know based off of the rules or the architecture of living fascia, right? Where if you, like 10 years from now, if your elbow is hurting, you're at a party, oh, got to go to my doctor because my elbow hurts. They're going to look at you and be like, that's silly. Like, it's your fascia. You got to go. Why would you go to a doctor? You got to go to this person,
Yes.
And that's where I really feel like the system is going wrong. Okay. Is we have this new information that fascia is the main driver, the main component of movement and safety and growth and protection in the human body, but we're still treating it as if there are separate areas, okay, that will lead people down a rabbit hole trying to get rid of their own pain.
Yes.
Because when the back hurts, they go to the chiropractor, and chiropractor's like, it's the spine. And then they go to an acupuncturist and they say, your gallbladder meridian is kablooey. And then, you go somewhere else and the guy's like, you need active release technique, ART. And then another guy's like, you need grafting. And it's just like, what's the deal? Like, what's really, because one person is saying one thing, another person is saying another. And I got this from Joel Green, who wrote a fantastic book called The Immunity Code. But he said, when you're not working with what is mechanistically true in the human body, it's just a bunch of baby talk.
Yes.
So when I hear people talking about nerve, when I hear people talking about muscle, when I hear people tell me that bones are what support the human body, I go, okay, you're still in baby talk. You haven't really progressed your education. And we've known since, I think, the 1980s, like toward 1989, maybe something like that. Studies were done showing that even under a compressive load, that there is no compression between the bones in the knees or in our joints. So bones float inside the body. But yet you can go into college and they will teach you that bones are your structure, that bones keep the body upright.
Yes.
And it's just like, no. Fascia uses the bones in two purposes. Okay. Number one is an anchor point. All right. For them to pull on, for fascia to pull on. And number two is bones are tuning forks. They tell the fascia where the limbs and where our structure is in space. That's what bones do. That is when you're working with what is mechanistically true about the fascia and bones, et cetera, you can get problems in the body to go away very, very quickly. There was a gentleman out in Hawaii, one of my mentors. He pulled his hamstring, like just terrible. And I got him better in a day and a half. His brother is an MD. And his brother called me up and he goes, "What did you do to Seymour? Like, weren't you afraid of touching that hematoma? I would have never believed that he is this much better just after a couple of days. Like, this is impossible." And he was kind of like, he was joking around, but he was at the same time, like, still pretty upset. And I told him, I just said, when you work on the problems, the symptoms go away relatively easily. So when you are working with the fascia, all of a sudden the muscle and the nerve and the bone, they start to calm down and sit in their original settings.
Yes.
And the pain starts to go away. When you're trying to move muscle or when you're trying to treat a nerve, you're not, ablations, rhizotomies. I've had people that have had those and then their pain comes back after 3-4 weeks. And I tell them, I go, it's because your body isn't using the nerves to send the signal.
Yes.
Fascia has an unlimited, an infinite supply to reroute itself to make sure that you don't keep hurting yourself more and more. And that's the, as far as I'm concerned, that's the bottom line.
Yes. There's so many great things that you said there. And I think the one to simplify it for any of the listeners there is that really the fascia and all of these systems, they're so interconnected. So if you make a change in one area, it is going to affect all of the other symptoms. I think when we start to integrate or combine all of these techniques and knowledge and have an understanding as to how it affects the other symptoms, I think that's where these other disciplines are coming from too. It's not to say that they have a wrong perspective, but it's knowing that when you do something in one area, it's going to affect a whole myriad of other things in the body, because the body is one unit. It doesn't work like just the skeletal system, just the muscular system, just the nervous system or fascial system. They all combine as a whole.